Welcome to the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage, where rude mechanicals do magic. Hello, I'm Bronze Age, Director of the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. And when it comes to home repair and maintenance, there are some things that you can put off, let it slide for a while. But there are some repairs, if you put them off for too long, they'll come back to bite you in the ass. Now what we have here is a home office style swivel chair. You wouldn't find this in a commercial setting. It's really too lightweight for that. But other than that, it is fairly well built. And we've got a split seat here. Now that's a fairly common problem in any kind of chair made with this kind of a slab, which is several boards glued together edge to edge to make one solid piece of wood. Now in the case of this chair, the screws just happened to line up with the glue seam, which made the failure really kind of inevitable. Now the complication that pops up with most chair repairs is that you can't take the entire chair apart to fix one piece. If this were all by itself, just a single slab, it really wouldn't be all that complicated. I can take these little knee braces off, but there's really no practical way to get the seat back out without risking more damage to the chair than it's worth. Now before anything else gets done, I've got to get my clamping scheme figured out because I'm going to be using epoxy on here and I want it to be perfectly straight and flat and get it all together before the epoxy starts to cook off. Now I have a couple of issues with this glue up. Now of course I've got to be able to squeeze it this way, and I want to get these two pieces aligned. But this seat back, which is attached pretty rigidly to opposite sides of the brake, is not only trying to spread it apart here at the back, but it's got one side up higher than the other. And that's going to create some problems. So what I've done is I've made this piece of 2x4 here with a groove cut in it, which is where the crack is going to be. And that's strictly just so that I can be able to press on both sides and not have to worry about the epoxy gluing itself to the board. It is going to be wrapped in wax paper, which will relieve most of that. This will be tightened down like this. There'll be one in the back to match it. And I can take my little hammers here to line it up. And another pair of long clamps. And then once I have it all back together, there'll probably be some shimming and a little bit of leveraging on these blocks to get this distortion out of the seat. Then I'll be ready to start applying the epoxy. The epoxy I'm using is the 30-minute slow cure version, although in my experience it may take as long as 5 or 6 hours before it's fully hard, but it will start to set up and be probably easy enough to, or safe enough to handle in about an hour. The one critical thing about it is you've really got to mix it well. For this batch here, I'm going to mix this probably 2 or 3 minutes, and I don't expect anybody to stick around to watch me do that. Now that that's done, the way I'm going to apply this is with a syringe. This is actually an insulin syringe that I pulled a needle out and opened up the tip so that I could get the epoxy in and out a little faster. And that's going to allow me to apply it right along the edge here. And an even kind of bead. And I've got less worry about it squeezing out up at the top edge. And this is really good when you've got a tight crack that's got to be applied in and you really can't get inside it as well as you'd like to. Give it a little bit of a push. Get it misaligned slightly so I can get the epoxy on this upper edge. Well, that came out a little easier than I thought it was going to be. But it'll be 24 hours before I know exactly how well it held. And then we have to go on with the rest of the repairs. Now we see how we did. Well, that looks like a good solid glue joint. Now we have another problem. I can't put the Swivel hardware on here back where it was before. And I can't move it anywhere. So that's going to call for a more creative kind of solution. We're at the Packard 12-speed precision drill press, where I've got a 1 7/8" Forstner bit. I have set the drill speed to 450 because bits this big, especially in hardwood, need to turn very slow. They generate a lot of heat, and it's enough heat to actually draw the temper out of the bit, which is why a lot of people have a box full of blue and darkened Forstner bits that no longer drill holes very well. The plan is to drill that 1 7/8" hole 3/8 deep. This is actually the thinnest part of the chair seat, and I don't want to go any further than that, which is why I have the tape on there. That's my depth gauge. And then I will put this wooden plug that I cut out at the bandsaw and then spent way too much time at the belt sander getting it nice and round, hoping that it'll fit this hole. We'll see in just a moment. And that will be our repair. Well, that looks like that will do it. Now for gluing the plugs, I'm going to be using the 5-minute epoxy. There's 2 reasons for that. One, this is not going to be a complicated clamping operation where I have to get everything straight and I'll need more time. Also, I used up the last of the slow setting epoxy on that last job. But this needs to be mixed just as thoroughly as the other stuff. Or it just simply won't set up. I'll come back a couple hours from now and find all this gooey stuff. Have to clean it all up and start over again. And I really don't like doing that. But with this stuff, I can usually mix it until I feel it start to get a little warm. Especially on a day like this where it's just a little chilly in the lab. Unseasonably cold weather for Louisiana in November. And it's in the 40s. I'm going to give this just a little bit more. And now, just paint it in to the hole. Epoxy works best when the fit is snug, but not actually tight. There's some glues that need a very, very small gap. Epoxy is one that just needs a medium gap. Push that in, get this other one really fast. Then I'll rearrange this on the bench a little bit so I can get some clamps to make sure they're down the bottom of the hole. And it's just another game of waiting for the epoxy to set up. Now this project is just about finished. I'm going to shave these plugs down with the reliable Stanley number 5. I've got my screw holes marked. I got my poor boy's depth stop. And if I can, I always have my hand on the other side of the seat because sometimes you just can't trust a poor boy's depth stop. But you can feel the drill bit coming through before it actually breaks the finish. The last bit is to install these back braces. Well, it is not a perfect match. It's pretty smooth here at the front, pretty smooth here at the back where it was clamped. But here in the middle, there's enough to catch your fingernail. And it's really not possible to make a perfect match on this kind of a brake, no matter how you clamp it. We could sand this down, make it smooth, but then that would require restaining and revarnishing. And that's just a little more than the customer wants to put into this chair. But I think they'll be happy with it. They'll certainly be able to sit in it with a little more feeling of safety and security than they had before. So, this is Bronze Age for the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. And I appreciate you sitting through this episode of Chair Hospital. Hope to see you next week. Please like and subscribe. And again, thank you for watching.